Awesome, guys. Welcome back. Dylan, SDR Whisperer here. Got my boy here. You probably, if you've watched these videos, you saw our first student spotlight together. Been seeing him crushing it recently. Had to get a second call on the calendar. Good to see you again, dude.
What's up, dude?
Not too much. Recently married. Congratulations.
Thank
Big
you.
stuff happening for you.
Made the plunge.
Made the plunge. Got it on. How weird is it having the ring on?
We started testing it out like a couple of days before, or a couple of weeks beforehand, just to kind of get used to it, and then we like pulled it off to make it special for the day or whatever. But I mean, it's been pretty good. I got a sick ring, honestly. Yeah, nice. You ready? You got yours. Is like a paperweight right now.
We just got them. Yeah, I don't know why they're on my desk, but yeah, I was wearing it for like a little bit, and I was like, I've never worn a ring of any sort, so I'm like, this is weird, man. Like,
Yeah.
it's very weird. Did you get like the rubber one for like the gym?
No, I have. I just take that off.
Yeah, just take
Yeah.
it off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always afraid I'm gonna lose it or drop it in the water or do something stupid because it's like a little loose still. So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. It's weird because men's fingers are much different than female fingers. It's like
Yeah.
you got to get over calluses and stuff.
Yeah, big knots or whatever from like a jam finger or whatnot. Yeah, totally that.
Awesome, dude. Well, we'll tell everyone that's watching kind of what you've been up to and share kind of the successes you've been seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the highlights, I think last time I was just getting started, maybe at this particular company, and, kind of hit KPIs right off the bat, started grinding it, and they just kept giving me more workload, almost to like a fault, right?
Mhm.
So then I think like in the first 6 months, 7 months, like a million in cash collected for them. I mean, like blew people away.
Yeah.
And then my since then been moved to like leadership or management, so kind of managing the setter team, which is like another host of problems and like a completely different skill set to learn for sure.
Yeah.
So jumping into the deep water there too.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So I guess what was like your initial like thoughts when they just kept adding stuff to your plate? Like mindset
Uh,
stuff.
I mean, I think generally it's like I don't think they know how much time this takes, right? And then
Yeah.
it's as somebody that's new, right? Kind of faking it till you make it on some of this stuff. So it's like takes a little bit of extra time and to like figure something out for the first time. Whereas like maybe when you get plugged into a system, you can kind of see the problems or how it goes. But it's been a crazy learning experience, right? And like I think just really transferable skills. So
There you go. Because you didn't come from like a direct sales background before you started working with us and working with the company that you're currently at. So I guess how has that transition been going from not in inside sales to being a setter and now managing a setter?
yeah, I mean, completely fresh. Had no idea. First course was our first program was your guys's. So completely new. Bombed for the first couple of weeks or whatever. At least sounded bad. Still got sets and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And still, I think when you're new to this stuff, there's like a level of like imposter syndrome that just happens because you're like, I don't really feel like I'm that good, but the
Yep.
numbers keep piling up, and you're like, okay, well maybe I'm all right. And then you listen to people when you get 8 months down the road or whatever it is, and you listen to other people's calls, and you can see some of the holes. I still might not be perfect, or I'm not perfect, but I could add a lot of value still, right? Like I
Yeah.
listen to the calls and stop them in the points and be like, this is where you would say this, and if you can interject this will make it more like a conversation. So surprised with how much I know once I start going through the call reviews and kind of like looking at other people's stuff.
Yeah, now you know why we do it.
Yeah.
In the program, we do call reviews and role plays and mock calls so much because like that's really what moves the needle is getting your things heard. Because when you're in the moment, you're not really like, oh, I should have not said there, or I should have asked that. Well, you don't think in those terms, right? You're in the moment. So when you're actually able to go back and listen to yourself, sometimes you're like, oh God, did I say that? Did I say it like that? Yeah, it's definitely a good learning experience. So like how many calls, like what were you doing consistently over that first, 3 to 6 months from like a production? Like how many sets what was your best set month or cash collected month?
I mean, I think the best cash collected month. So they do a little different, like revenue generated, and I
Yeah.
only count when the cash is collected, right? So like some of the numbers like per month would be, I'd generate like 200K in revenue, but we collected maybe 750K. So I always like to talk
Yeah.
about like cash collected at the end of 6 months as the contracts came through,
Yeah.
right? The big contracts that are on recurring payments. Sets, I shot in the, I don't know, 60 to 80. Some months got close to 100. But I kind of found a sweet spot in and really just making sure that they were qualified, right? Because we have like a specific thing, and just getting my number um, of sets to close ratio up above everyone else's, right? Maybe I'm doing 60 sets and some people are doing 80, but I'm up
Yeah.
over 25% where the team's down at 15% or whatever. So my numbers were always better than like if they got the call cold.
Yeah.
So it's like a nice indicator for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's what a company truly wants, right?
Right.
Like putting meetings on the calendar for meeting calendar's sake is actually like a negative for the business because it wastes resources like on every stage of sales, operations, fulfillment, management. It's actually like a hindrance in the company. So that's awesome to hear, is like definitely prioritizing quality over quantity. Because like you said, those guys are booking, maybe 120. They're not on this call saying that they've done, $1 million in cash collected, because your prioritization of quality, is that main difference maker. So yeah, I mean, I guess for anyone kind of listening to this that might not be in sales, who's thinking about taking the plunge, kind of like you did, like what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, honestly, to be truthful, the reason I reached out to kind of like give you the story was because a couple people on Twitter
Yeah,
had seen the first one and then asked me my like review of you, and I was like, well, this is kind of what happened, and I thought it'd be cool just to put this up. Uh,
yeah, I
so I
appreciate
think
that.
a lot can happen in like 6 to 8 months if you put the work in, right? Like those first days or first months were a lot of hours, 10, 12 hours. I was grinding really hard to like understand what I was trying to do. But a lot can change in like a short amount of time if you kind of put the work in.
And it compounds.
Yeah.
Like the work that you did when you were, not as good, now has translated into where you're at now. And like, if you gave up in that first month when you had the imposter syndrome, or you're like, maybe I do something different or go back to old ways, like you
Yeah.
don't get to break through those glass ceilings to see the successes. And I think that's like the biggest problem with not only sales, but a lot of things in life, is like, it takes a lot of time and effort to get the ball rolling, and
Yeah.
then it starts rolling much easier, but it's very hard to get that initial effort. um yeah, that's awesome to hear. That's funny that people reach out to you watching the videos. That's good to know.
Yeah. Like I couldn't recommend it enough. And that's why I give them the story and they're like, wow, man, that's crazy. Or even when I do interviews now and they're asking me about like how long I've been at the company and stuff, I kind of tell them the trajectory and they're like, you're like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see. And you're like, it's a cool thing to work with people that are new and kind of come off zero or at 1 to 2.
Yeah, and like since you've done, like, I think that's the best SDR managers or best management in sales are the people that were in the seat that they're managing at
Mhm.
that same company. Because I've been at companies where they would hire a new manager who didn't know the team, they didn't know the culture, they didn't actually earn their stripes at that company. And like from the view of the sales team, they're like, like this guy's kind of like an outsider. So like when you're with somebody and you see them get promoted, you're like excited about that manager. Like, oh, sick. Like Chris is now our manager. Like me and Chris were setters together. It's like it's
Yeah.
so much more organic, and it helps so much in like the team's culture. Have you found that?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's like a big thing that I want to implement with our team is like a trajectory for other people, right? Like,
Yeah.
because if you're going to be hired as a setter, that's nice and it's good money to start, but like you're going to constantly lose setters if you don't have like a 3 month, 6 month, 9 month plan for them to send to some other position. And I think if you keep your people in house, that's probably the best and like
Yeah.
creates continuity.
Yeah,
So
and it shows others that there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah,
Because a lot of companies do keep a setter in a role who's good
yeah,
because they're good. it's kind of like a catch-22. It's like, you're so good in this role, we're not willing to take you out of that role, because without your production, the company is actually quote unquote losing money, right? And it's like, I've been in situations where they're like, yeah, like, maybe promotion like 3 more months, 6 more months, because they like having you in that role because you're doing so well. And it's like, well, come on, man, I'm working so hard. I want to earn more responsibility, make more money. So it's glad to hear the company you're with is actually, realizing the value they have and promoting and giving you the recognition that's deserved.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's kind of like that's sort of on me though. I have to develop the talent under
Yeah.
the top ones, so that there's another person to take their spot, so the other people can ascend. If I'm not doing my job, then we're going to be too reliant on a couple people, and that's a bad spot to be in.
So you're doing the hiring, the training, and the managing?
Yeah, pretty much. A couple other things, but I'm offloading some of those things, like some of the early tasks that I got, like managing cold email. I mean,
Yeah.
like workload's crazy, dude. But like kind of creating a process, which is new to me too, right? Like creating SOPs so that like that can be offloaded to somebody, and then that can be managed, right? So it's just like kind of, this will all be very applicable at some point for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And like this, you're just getting started, right? It's not even been a year yet. So it's like, if you keep on this trajectory, like, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Where you're going to be on the 3rd call that we'll have, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
6 more months. Maybe we'll make this a 6-month recurring calendar invite. But I guess, what is it translated to from like a personal and like a financial perspective, like going through the ranks, being to where you're at now from where you were, before joining the program?
I mean, honestly, at the beginning, it was a pay cut. Like it was still good, right, for normal
Yeah.
people starting something. But I knew that this was like a longer runway, right? Like if I'm putting in this time now, I can see like where this would go, whether it be open, some sort of business, service based, or all of these skills are applicable to other things. So financially, at the beginning, it wasn't, but then I was able to get to a spot where like made things real comfortable, and I think even more so down the line. And while this is like somewhat stressful, or whatever, time consuming, it's definitely improved like confidence in other parts of my life. Kind of just knowing that you can kind of take a challenge and do it. And then everything in like the personal life's going really well with all this. It's also applicable there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said before we, kind of got into this, like, the wife's noticed it in you, which is awesome to hear. I mean, yeah, you just got married and like got a lot of good things going for you, man. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, dude, it's I can't wait to do this in 6 months and see where we're at.
We'll book it. We'll book it after this call. As typical salespeople, you got to have a follow-up call after
Yeah,
a Zoom call.
sure. I want to be
Um,
I want to be the greatest of the success stories for sure.
you're well on your way, man. You're well on your way. Yeah, yeah. I'll have to send you. We just got new company hats made. I'll have to send you one over.
Nice.
So you can start rocking that around. But I guess closing remarks is like, if you had to go back, right, would you do anything differently, or is this kind of exactly as it should have happened?
Man, those are hard questions because I don't like to think about like regrets or changing anything. I would say probably sooner.
Yeah.
Honestly. Like once I decided this, I talked to you, like I think in Twitter or something. I hopped in like the next day or whatever, but I had been like kind of like scrolling around and like thinking about what's next. Is it going to be like Amazon FBA, or what is this thing that I'm going to do next? I think I could have made a move quicker, right? And
Yeah.
been a couple years down the road at this point.
Yeah.
Just
But
quicker.
that's kind of the funny thing about life, is things happen when they're supposed to happen, right? Whether you kind of realize it or not. But great, man. I'll let you get back. I know you said you're busy. I don't want to take up too much of your valuable Friday here. Been awesome catching up, having another call. Thank you for reaching out and having this. Congratulations on hitting the 2 comma cash collected. Congratulations on the new marriage. And if people want to kind of, you mentioned Twitter, if people want to find you, follow you, where does that look like?
It's you can put it in the comments, but it's non-linear. It's ascent. So
Non-linear ascent. Well, that
so
sounds kind of like
we're going up and down to the top.
that's a pretty good name based on the conversation today.
Yeah.
Well, awesome, Chris. You have a wonderful weekend, brother, and excited for your success. Congratulations again.
Appreciate everything. See you.